Here we go. All right. On Tuesday, the Los Angeles City Council unanimously approved an ordinance declaring Los Angeles a sanctuary city for undocumented Americans. From now on, all Los Angeles city employees are forbidden from assisting ICE or the federal government in enforcing immigration laws. In 2017, the state of California passed a law declaring it was a sanctuary state. Immediately after the city council passed its ordinance, the Los Angeles Unified School Board of Education passed a resolution declaring itself a sanctuary school district, which means teachers and all school employees are forbidden from assisting ICE or the federal government in answering any questions regarding the immigration status of any student or any student's family member. What is your city doing to fight fascism? There is no immigration problem. It's a lie. Last week, ABC News quoted Tom Homan, the scumbag who used to run ICE. He's now been named Donald Trump's border czar. Tom Homan was quoted as saying of the cities that are now sanctuaries, he said, quote, "They better get the hell out of the way. Either you help us or get the hell out of the way because ICE is going to do their job." How would you like to be married to this troglodyte, Tom Homan? Someone should do a welfare check on Tom Homan's wife and kids. I heard him say there's a wife in this. Are there kids? Is he physically capable? I hope not. But he is straight out of central casting. If you were going to hire someone to play an evil border czar on some self-important TV show written by Aaron Sorkin, directed by Rob Reiner, and starring Tony Goldwyn, this is the guy, Tom Homan. You would cast this guy as the satanic border czar. According to ABC News, California Attorney General Rob Bonta said of ICE, quote, "They're going to have to go through me, and we will stop them in the courts using our legal tools given to us." Washington State Attorney General Bob Ferguson told ABC News, "One of many reasons why we were successful with our litigation against the Trump administration the first time was they were often sloppy in the way they rolled out and then provided openings to us to prevail." But he warned, in court this time around, I anticipate that we will see less of that, and that is an important difference. Richard Flanagan is the Australian author of the critically acclaimed Question 7, which won the Booker Prize, as well as the much-coveted Bale Gifford Prize, which he rejected to protest Bale Gifford's ties to fossil fuels. Bale Gifford is an investment firm that has been sponsoring this literary award for nearly a decade, but Richard Flanagan, author of Question 7, said, "I'm not going to accept your prize," and that amounts to more than 50,000 American dollars. He said, "I welcome the opportunity to meet with the Bale Gifford fund manager to discuss how investments in fossil fuel are destroying Australia." I'm going to spend most of this show, all of this show, crapping on Donald Trump and his cabinet picks, but Richard Flanagan turning down that prize money serves as a reminder that there is dirty money and there is clean money. And until the Democrats say that out loud, that there is dirty money and clean money, we are never going to save our party, this country, and of course our planet. The Democrats cannot stop it. They can't help themselves. They're sending me hundreds of emails asking for money. And don't blame Kamala Harris. She can't stop these emails with her name on it. Her email list was sold off to fundraisers who paid millions for her email list and her name, and they are going to keep sending you requests for money. Now, where does that money go? A lot of it goes to the people who bought the email list so they can buy more email lists and raise money. Most of that, not most, but about $110 million was spent just on email lists, raising more money. The New York Times wrote a devastating piece a few days ago that I recommend you don't read because you will never donate to the Democratic Party again. And you shouldn't donate to the Democratic Party. You should donate to candidates like Sarah McBride, people like Rashida Tlaib. You donate to individual candidates. Don't donate to the Democratic Party. In 15 weeks, the Harris campaign raised and spent $1.5 billion and ended the campaign $20 million in debt. By the way, that comes to $100 million a week. $600 million was spent on producing and buying commercial time for television, radio, and the internet. Consultants not only get paid to produce these commercials, they also get a commission of the buy. The New York Times also reports that the campaign paid for drone shows in Pennsylvania, the key battleground swing state that she had to win. Drone shows in the sky before her debate with Trump, and a drone show above the sky during a Steelers game. Is that how you connect with the working class? Wasting money on drone shows? Do you think voters are stupid and think, oh, the drones, they decided on their own to show support for Kamala Harris for free? These drones are just donating their time. The Times says when you add up what Harris and Biden raised together for this election cycle, the grand total comes to more than $2 billion. It's $2.15 billion. Chris Corge, the Democratic National Committee's finance chair, according to the New York Times, wrote a letter to the Democratic Party's top donors the day after the election to assure them that Harris losing all 7 battleground states, quote unquote, shocked us all. I don't know, for $2 billion, you should have had enough intelligence on the ground to know you were going to lose all 7 battleground states. It shocked us all. The Harris campaign, according to the New York Times, spent $12 million on polling just between the time Biden stepped down and October 15th. We don't know how much they spent on polling after October 15th. $110 million was spent buying digital advertising, asking for more money. Will you please donate so we can afford to ask you for more money? Bakari Sellers is a top advisor and politician to the Democratic Party. He told the New York Times, quote, "We had so much money, it was hard to get it out the door," unquote. Now, I remember telling you in July and early August about the energy sweeping the battleground states before the convention, how young people, old people, were showing up at district offices for the Democratic Party in the 7 battleground states offering to volunteer, to work for free. And the Harris campaign said, we don't know what to do with them. That's what they literally said. We're being inundated by idealistic old people and young people who want to work for free, and we don't know what to do with them. You want to work for free? Volunteer. No money? We'll get back to you, is pretty much what some of them said. Turns out volunteering for the Democratic Party, in some cases, is frowned upon. Prove me wrong, DNC. The Harris campaign spent $50 million on door knockers, canvassers, mercenaries. I had no idea. Remember I kept talking about Elon Musk spending $200 million on a ground game? Harris spent $50 million on mercenaries. So that's why when you write back, when they ask for money and you say, how do I volunteer instead? They don't know what to do with you. They have no idea. The Times reports that those rallies, the rallies. Could you feel the energy? The rallies held the night before Election Day cost $10 million alone just to cover the costs of the support crews for John Bon Jovi in Detroit, Lady Gaga in Philadelphia, Christina Aguilar in Nevada, Katy Perry in Pittsburgh, and James Taylor in North Carolina. James Taylor has roadies? He has a crew? Now, granted, the stars donated their services for free, but it costs money to fly them in, put them up in a hotel, you got to feed them, and you got to take care of their quote-unquote people. But here's the part that makes me really sick to my stomach. The consultants, and this is why you should only donate to individual candidates. The consultants. One consultant firm, according to the New York Times, are you sitting down? One consultant collected commissions that totaled $300 million. Three other consultants, according to the New York Times, received $90 million each in commissions. That's who controls the Democratic Party. And Kamala Harris would like those emails to stop. Can't. Her name was sold off to these consultants. Well, I'm going to start crapping on the Trump administration in a second, but what did I say? The Harris and Biden campaign raised more than $2 billion this election cycle. That's a lot of money, right? That's Jamie Harrison, head of the DNC. According to the Washington Post, the Democratic Party is seeing to it that heads roll. Yes, accountability. Accountability. Yeah, but not the heads of the consultants, or not the heads of the Democratic Party. Not the finance chair, who was shocked that he or she lost 7 battleground states. No, the party of the worker is taking it out on the worker. The worker, their heads are going to roll. The Washington Post says the union that represents campaign workers for the Democratic Party is now complaining that staffers were guaranteed jobs after Election Day because so much money had been raised. But now they've been fired with absolutely no notice or severance pay. According to the union representing workers for the Democratic Party, the rank and file, the loyal Democratic campaign staff, had zero notice that these layoffs were on the way, and with no severance pay right now, they have no idea how to pay their medical expenses, rent, or child care. Jennifer Medina is an opinion columnist over at the New York Times, and she has a great piece on why Trump won. And this is my favorite sentence from that piece. She wrote, quote, "The working class voters that Vice President Kamala Harris's presidential campaign needed were not moved by talk of joy. They were too angry about feeling broke." Again, it's easy to take it all out on the Democratic Party, but we have to talk about money. We have to talk about where the money went and whether or not the Democratic Party is going to put money in my pocket. Is this party going to put money in my pocket? And by that I mean Medicare for all, putting the health insurance companies out of business, free health care, free tuition at all public universities, free child care, raise the minimum wage to at least $17 an hour, put the fossil fuel industry out of business, tax billionaires out of existence. Unless you're talking about that, do not ask me for your vote, my time, or your money. Yes, I am angry right now at the Democratic Party because Donald Trump and the Republicans are the disease, but Democrats are the doctors who botched the operation. Who are you more upset with, the cancer or the oncologist who misdiagnosed it and then failed to get it all? I think you're going to be angrier at the doctor than you are the disease. Somebody showed me the number of transgender athletes in high school, competing in high school sports. It is something like zero. There are about 350 million Americans. I think there are 3 transgender high school athletes. God damn it! This is, hang on. It just pisses me off. Sorry. There are something like 3 transgender high school students. Jen Psaki over at MSNBC talked about this. She said Republicans who complain about transgender athletes competing on high school teams are unable to name one example of a transgender athlete competing on a high school team. Not one. And as I read this, I thought, wait a second. There are more Democrats in Congress right now complaining that our party lost because we're too concerned about transgender athletes competing in high school sports than there are transgender athletes competing in high school sports. Seth Moulton, the Republican congressman, he calls himself a Democrat. He's a Democrat from Massachusetts. As you know, he complained that Democrats lost. Why did we lose? Because he has 2 daughters who compete in school sports, and he is seriously concerned that they're going to be injured by a transgender athlete. Well, Seth Moulton, if you're concerned about that, you're not qualified to serve in Congress. You're not even qualified to be a father. Worry about the real things. Not an issue. But he won't back down. Name one transgender athlete competing in school sports. I know there are a couple, maybe 3. There are more Democrats. There are more Democrats in the New York congressional district saying we lost because our party is overly concerned about transgender athletes competing in high school sports. I didn't hear one. I don't have one mailer, one email, nothing. I didn't hear one Democrat talking about this. So one of Seth Moulton's staffers quit because he said that. And so Moulton won't back down. Seth Moulton won't back down. He said, well, obviously this shows you we've lost touch with the majority of Americans. Democrats, this is responding to a worker who quit because he's concerned. He's saying that the Democrats should share the Republican Party's concern for the 3 high school transgender athletes. He says, obviously, we've lost touch with the majority of Americans. He said, Democrats have a habit of preaching down to people and telling them if they don't 100% agree with our orthodox view, often defined by the far left, then they're just bad people. They're morally wrong. And that's not going to win us any elections. Well, you're morally wrong, Seth Moulton, and your moral wrongness is why we don't win any elections. And you're a bad person, Seth Moulton. Transgender athletes in high school do not exist. It's not an orthodox view, as you call it. It's a fact. This is Sarah McBride, who was elected to Congress on November 5th by the people of Delaware. She will become the first transgender member of Congress in American history. Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace on Monday welcomed Congresswoman McBride by introducing a bill to ban trans women from using Capitol restrooms. Nancy Mace told Punchbowl's Melanie Zanona, quote, seeing a biological male in a woman's space, in a girl's restroom, or in her locker room, it's crazy. No, you're crazy. If, she goes on, and if McBride wants to go to the gym, she can go to Planet Fitness. It's not going to happen. Not on my watch, unquote. Wow. Nancy Mace standing up, keeping us safe. What is this obsession Republicans have with bathrooms? How much time do these people spend in the bathroom? I know they eat garbage and probably have severe gastroenterological issues. I mean, look at Nancy Mace. This woman looks like she's been holding back a fart. So anyway, she looks like a fart is what she looks like. I know these Republicans eat garbage and probably are obsessed with bathrooms because they spend most of their time in there trying to summon something. They talk about restrooms the way liberals on college campuses talk about safe spaces. We need a safe space. Our bathrooms are safe spaces. It's a bathroom. If you went on a vegan diet like me, you wouldn't need to use a public restroom. The problem isn't transgender people using bathrooms. The problem is public restrooms in America are a disgrace. They're disgusting, almost as disgusting as Nancy Mace. Politico then asked Nancy Mace if she planned to talk to Congressman McBride, and Mace said, no way. Sarah McBride doesn't get a say. Right, but it's the Democrats who have been taken over by the cancel culture. Right. McBride responded to Mace's bill saying, quote, this is a blatant attempt from far-right extremists to distract from the fact that they have no real solutions to what Americans are facing. She added, we should be focused on bringing down the cost of housing, health care, and child care, not manufacturing culture wars. Wow. We should be focused on bringing down the cost of housing, health care, and child care, not manufacturing culture wars. Got it, Seth Moulton? Your party lost because you didn't promise low-income housing, Medicare for all, free child care, but you don't believe in any of that. So when Democrats lose, people like you blame the left instead of the centrists or the closeted Republicans like you. And just like Republican Seth Moulton, you scapegoat the transgender community. You POS. What a rancid piece of garbage you are, Seth Moulton. I expect Nancy Mace to be an attention courtesan. I demand better from the Democrats. Seth Moulton's office should be flooded with postcards, not letters, not just send him postcards. Send Seth Moulton a postcard. It's MOULTON. Send him a postcard at 21 Front Street, Salem, Massachusetts, 01970. That's 21 Front Street, Salem, the witches, Salem, Massachusetts, 01970. He looks like a warlock, doesn't he? Yeah, I'm making fun of the way he looks. I don't give a shit. 21 Front Street, Salem, Massachusetts, 01970. His phone number is 978-531-1669. Seth Moulton's phone number is 978-531-1669. His fax number is 771-200-5585. Don't be rude. Don't be an a-hole. If you're rude, if you're angry, if you sound like me, you end up like me and nobody takes you seriously. You want to be like me? I'm a cautionary tale of what rage does. You lose all credibility. A measured letter. Don't do it now because I'm angry. Do it tomorrow. Call Seth Moulton's office. at 978-531-1669 and politely explain to him why the Democratic Party lost, and politely explain to him that there are only, if we're being generous, 3 transgender high school athletes in America. Being angry, you lose. This anger that I have right now, this is, ask yourself, a general rule of thumb in life is, ask yourself, what would David Feldman do? And do the opposite. That's the key to success in life. So, but call Seth Moulton's office at 978-531-1669 politely. Fax him at 771-200-5585. Send him a postcard to 21 Front Street, Salem, Massachusetts. Don't be rude. Don't be angry. And it's more effective if you're from Massachusetts. If you know somebody from Massachusetts, have them call. Phone calls and postcards and faxes are important. They're very important, especially if they can be traced back to Massachusetts. They know who's calling. So if your phone has a Massachusetts area code, it's way more effective. So if you know anybody who lives in Massachusetts, tell them to do this, please. Speaker Mike Johnson was asked about Nancy Mace's bill banning McBride from Capitol restrooms. He said, quote, "We welcome all members with open arms who are newly elected representatives of the people. I believe it's a command. Well, we treat all persons with dignity and respect," unquote. Now, I try to see the good in people, and I like to believe that he actually meant that he's maturing. He added, "I'm not going to engage in silly debates about this. We will accommodate the needs of every single person," unquote. I like to believe that even though Mike Johnson has written and said some rancid things, especially about the LGBTQ community, I like to believe that when he said that, he believed it. I want to believe that. And it's, one of the good things to do. I learned this, if you study the Cuban Missile Crisis, Bobby Kennedy Sr. counseled his brother to approach Nikita Khrushchev's better angels. There were 2 memos that Khrushchev sent. One was for peace, one was for war, and Bobby Kennedy, in his infinite wisdom, said to his brother, ignore the bellicose, belligerent letter, go with the one where Khrushchev wants to negotiate. So always go with people's better angels, even if they're POSs like Seth Moulton or the speaker, Mike Johnson. My anger that I'm getting revved up accomplishes, it hurts. Getting angry about this stuff, this is chess. Even in football, you can't win football or hockey or boxing with real rage and anger. Boxers are playing chess. Did you see Mike Tyson? I won't talk about it. So I like to think that this is Mike Johnson being a decent man. But notice, NOTUS reports that during a meeting of the House Republican Caucus, chaired later in the day by Speaker Johnson, Republicans applauded when Marjorie Taylor Greene spoke up in support of Nancy Mace's bill while misgendering McBride. She stood up in support of this bathroom bill. Olivia Beavers over at Politico reports that Marjorie Taylor Greene added that she would physically fight any transgender woman who tries to use... Why am I laughing? This is not funny. Sometimes I laugh when I'm just... She said, I will fight any transgender woman who tries to use a woman's bathroom. I know why I laughed. But I can't say what I want to say about Marjorie Taylor Greene and the rumors that I've heard that people are saying about what occasionally flops out when she's lifting weights. But I'm not going to do that. I've heard things that sometimes things flop out of her when she's squatting, when she's bench pressing. But we're not going to go there. After the meeting, is anybody here? After the meeting of the Republican Congressional Caucus, Mike Johnson changed his tune. According to the Associated Press, Johnson is now saying, quote, "We're not going to have men in women's bathrooms. I've been consistent about that with anyone I've talked to about this," unquote. Notice is reporting that McBride told Democrats to focus on policy and that she doesn't want to be perceived as a victim. McBride said, according to Notice, that this isn't my first rodeo. I can handle this, unquote. And then she told Democrats, let's stay focused, helping our constituents. SarahMcBride.com, McBride. See, don't donate to the Democratic Party. Donate to Sarah McBride. Do you know why Hakeem Jeffries is House Minority Leader? Because he gets money from Wall Street. He represents Brooklyn, which is adjacent to Wall Street. Nancy Pelosi was Speaker because she had the Silicon Valley money. Chuck Schumer is Senate Majority Leader because he's a bagman for Wall Street, New York. So when you donate, make sure you're donating to members of Congress, people like Sarah McBride, who doesn't have to suck up to Wall Street. And, you know, if she gets enough money, she can spread it around and become Speaker. That's the way it works, unfortunately. Hakeem Jeffries, the top Democrat in the House, did respond to Nancy Mace's anti-trans bill at his weekly press conference, saying, quote, "This is your priority? That you want to bully a member of Congress?" He then promised, quote, "We will not hesitate to call that out. Every time they lean into their far-right extremism and ignore the things that the American people want us as members of Congress to focus on together." Somebody should tell Seth Moulton to leave the Democratic Party. See, Seth Moulton, the reason Democrats stand up for the transgender community, the reason Democrats stand up for the LGBTQ plus community is because they, along with the migrants, along with the undocumented Americans, are the first line of defense in fighting off right-wing Christian nationalism that is the gasoline fueling our nation's lurch towards fascism. The state of Texas, for example, is now on the verge of violating the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment by passing new protocols, insisting that lessons from the Bible be included in Texas public school curriculum. According to the New York Times, the educational protocols lean heavily towards Christian messages and would teach Jesus' Sermon on the Mount to kindergartners. Why don't you start teaching Jesus' Sermon on the Mount to Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, and Ted Cruz? Why don't you start with your Republican politicians and work your way down to kindergartners? This is, let's go full screen here, can we? Yes, this is Ryan Walters. He's Oklahoma's state superintendent of public schools. He recently issued an order demanding every public school classroom have a government-approved Bible. Yes, a government-approved Bible. And guess whose Bible is the only one the public schools of Oklahoma can buy? Donald Trump's Lee Greenwood Bible. Made in China, by the way. 55,000 Bibles have been ordered, and Trump stands to make about $2 million off of that. Here is Ryan Walters, Oklahoma's state superintendent of schools, recording a message last week inviting all public school students to join him in prayer.
For too long in this country, we've seen the radical left attack individuals' religious liberty in our schools. We will not tolerate that in Oklahoma. Your religious liberties will be protected. We have also seen patriotism mocked and a hatred for this country pushed by woke teachers' unions. We will not tolerate that in any school in Oklahoma. We want our students to be patriotic. We want our students to love this country, and we want all students' religious liberty to be protected. I will now say your prayer. And to be clear, students, you don't have to join, but if you so wish, I'm going to go ahead and pray.
Dear God, thank you for all the blessings you've given our country. I pray for our leaders to make the right decisions. I pray in particular for President Donald Trump and his team as they continue to bring about change to the country. I pray for our parents, teachers, and kids that they get the best education possible and live high-quality lives. I also pray that we continue to teach love of country to our young people and that our students understand what makes America great and that they continue to love this country. Amen.
Amen. Now, in this age of artificial intelligence, I'm legally obligated to tell you that some of that video was altered. I have to tell you some of that video was altered using, well, it wasn't artificial intelligence, but I did alter that video. Can you tell what I altered? If you're from Oklahoma and you're familiar with Ryan Walters, the Oklahoma State Superintendent of Public Schools, you'll know what I did. Can you figure it out? Okay, the American flag is missing a star, and that's not the state flag for Oklahoma. That's the state flag for Arkansas. I altered it. No, that was altered from... that was altered. Late breaking news, Stephen Chung is still Donald Trump's communications director. And let me just see here, full disclosure. No, I don't think I altered that picture. Did we alter that? That's Stephen Chung, right? I didn't use AI or Photoshop. I didn't use the warp lens. That's Stephen Chung, the communications director for Donald Trump, correct? Okay, that has not been altered. This is the mop-up for what? November 20th, 2024. I'm David Feldman in New York City. I got the date wrong on the last show. I said it was November 19th and it was November 18th. So I apologize. But it really is November 20th, 2024. I'm David Feldman in New York. And yes, how about this? Do you like that? Does this look, this is going to, hang on for 1 second. How about this? Yeah, that would have been good for Halloween. One more. What's this? Okay. Why am I doing this? Oh, please subscribe. That's nice, right? Please subscribe to this channel, subscribe to my newsletter, and please share this episode with your friends, especially in Massachusetts. Dick Van Dyke supported Bernie Sanders in 2020. He endorsed Kamala Harris in the days leading up to November 5th. Dick Van Dyke turns 99 next month, and yesterday he was asked what he thought about Trump winning. Dick Van Dyke responded, "Fortunately, I won't be around to experience the 4 years." Who doesn't love Dick Van Dyke? Yes, you will, Dick. Everybody, we should all learn how to take care of ourselves by paying attention to the brilliant, the gift from God that is Dick Van Dyke. The Washington Post reports that a Georgia appeals court has canceled oral arguments on Donald Trump's appeal of a decision allowing Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis to remain in charge of the RICO trial, charging Donald Trump with racketeering when he and 18 other co-defendants conspired to overturn the 2020 presidential election results in Georgia. You might remember Fani Willis was accused of having an improper relationship with her lead prosecutor. So Trump's attorneys were able to delay the trial by insisting they can't get a fair one because Fani Willis might have been romantically involved with one of the other prosecutors. No, the reason Donald Trump can't get a fair trial is he's guilty. You heard the phone call. He's guilty, but we have to wait until March before the appeals court decides whether Fani Willis can remain on the case, because she may or may not have had an improper relationship with her lead prosecutor. Donald Trump's an adjudicated rapist. And now, for some reason, and we don't know why, oral arguments on the appeal have been canceled. Well, that's Donald Trump's appeal. What about Mark Meadows, his chief of staff, and Rudy Giuliani? They were also indicted. I understand that Trump probably won't go on trial until 4 years from now, but how come the rest of these defendants aren't going on trial? Meanwhile, Alvin Bragg, the Manhattan District Attorney, recommended on Tuesday that Donald Trump's sentencing be delayed until 2029. Trump, back in May, was found guilty of 34 felonies. He's a convicted felon. He was convicted on trying to hide hush money payments to a porn star. He was supposed to be sentenced next week, but the Manhattan District Attorney is now urging Judge Juan Merchan not to dismiss the case, but instead wait until after Trump wraps up his presidency. By the way, this doesn't mean he got away with it. He didn't get away with it. He was found guilty. Michael, and by the way, nobody goes to prison for what he was found guilty of. Okay? Michael Cohen, when he was Trump's attorney, paid the hush money to Stormy Daniels and then got reimbursed by Trump. He ended up turning state's evidence and did go to jail. And as punishment, he went to jail during Trump's presidency and Attorney General Bill Barr punished Michael Cohen by putting him in solitary confinement. This is true. Cohen's made a lot of money being a never-Trumper who saw the light, and he has been screaming for justice until yesterday. Michael Cohen urged the judge, Juan Merchan, to throw the case out. Michael Cohen said, quote, "The American people have spoken and reelected Donald Trump. Accordingly, I believe we must all acknowledge and respect the office of the presidency and dismiss the case forthwith." Right, because that's what they taught you at Cooley Law School. That's where he went. He went to Cooley Law School. That our criminal justice system works by having the American people, not a jury, decide whether a man's guilty or not. Now, I know a lot of my listeners like Michael Cohen. I don't. I don't forgive. I know what he's done in the past. But he was brave until yesterday. That statement is, as they say, chicken shit. Now, I understand being terrified of going back to prison and being placed in solitary confinement. Well, actually, I don't understand. So I've never been placed in solitary confinement. I have been arrested. I kind of know what it's like to be a middle-aged white guy who can afford a lawyer being arrested. I don't know what it's really like. And I certainly don't know what solitary confinement is like. Now, maybe I missed something. And if so, I apologize. Seems to me while Michael Cohen was attacking Trump, while it looked like Trump wasn't to get reelected, it seems to me Michael Cohen was not talking, and if I'm wrong, please let me know, I never heard him talk about how horrible prison was and how horrible solitary confinement was. Maybe he did. Maybe he did. So I apologize. But he should have, and if he did, I apologize. Was he screaming about our criminal justice system? If he did, I sincerely apologize. Because if he didn't, his exercise in redemption should have been more than just trashing Donald Trump. It should have also included speaking out about the horrors of solitary confinement. I apologize if he has dedicated his life to prison reform. And I do understand why he is now backing away and being terrified. But if he didn't, let me know in the comments section. If he didn't talk about how horrible our prison system is, and he's saying this about Trump, that the case should be dismissed because he's afraid of being put back in solitary confinement, but he never spoke out about the prisons, I don't know. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe he has, maybe, please let me know in the comments section. If I'm wrong, I sincerely apologize to Michael Cohen. Although he should still fight. I mean, do you really think urging the judge to dismiss the case is going to keep Trump from getting even with you? Meanwhile, it's official. The popular vote has been counted, and Donald Trump will fall short of reaching a 50% majority in the popular vote. House Republicans are probably looking at a 221 to 214 margin. What is that? It's a handful of Republicans. I'm going to say about 7. It depends on who is in attendance. You've got Matt Gaetz just stepped down, but there's only a handful of Republicans who can block Trump's agenda. And Senate Republicans only have a 53-seat majority in the Senate. J.D. Vance can break a tie, but it's a handful of Republican senators. Murkowski, Collins, Mitt Romney's gone. There aren't too many Republicans. Aren't too many. And even Murkowski and Collins aren't that great. The point is, it's not a mandate. It's not a mandate. And, you know, I should spend less time beating up on the Democrats and more time beating up on Donald Trump. Okay? But like I said, I don't blame the disease. I blame the doctor for not catching it. So Mila's a moderator. We attended a meeting yesterday about the possibility that the election was stolen. I'm not going to comment on that. I know people. I'm glad people are asking these questions. I'm not there yet. People have asked me, how did Trump win when the down ballot Democratic candidates in North Carolina, South Carolina, down ballot Democratic candidates in North Carolina, Arizona, Nevada, Wisconsin, Michigan all won, right? We've been over this over and over again. North Carolina, Josh Stein, Ruben Gallego in Arizona, Jackie Rosen in Nevada, Tammy Baldwin in Wisconsin, Elisa Slotkin in Michigan, all won those states as Senate candidates or candidate for governor, but Kamala Harris lost. Bob Casey in Pennsylvania hasn't conceded yet. It is conceivable that he will keep his seat. Kamala Harris lost. How do you explain this? Here's how I explain part of it. This is the Trump media and technology company that's traded on Wall Street. Half of Trump's fortune is in this stock. Right now, despite selling at half of what it sold for when it first went up for sale earlier in the year, its total worth is $6.3 billion. Now, I always ask you to get out your calculators because I'm not good at math. So if you wanted to purchase all the outstanding shares of Trump Media and Technology Group, it's DJT is the symbol, it would cost you $6.3 billion. That's what the company is worth. Get out your calculator. Last quarter, it reported revenue, not profits, revenue of $1 million. But the company is valued at $6.3 billion. $1 million in revenue, but it lost close to $20 million last quarter on $1 million of revenue. Get out your calculator. It lost $20 million last quarter. It's been losing money all year. I think it's expected to lose more than $100 million this year on $1 million in revenue. Devin Nunes, the CEO, who used to be the congressman, head of the Intelligence Committee, he gets paid $1 million a year. All they get is $1 million in revenue for a quarter. The company's worth $6.3 billion. And all the top executives, I think I read it in the Washington Post. My sister sent me the article. All the top executives are dumping their shares of DJT, making millions and millions and millions of dollars on selling a stock valued, the company, $6.3 billion. The math, does it add up? The math thing isn't working for me. The math on this makes about as much sense as the math on November 5th. And that's how I explain how it's possible for Kamala Harris to lose North Carolina, Arizona, Nevada, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, Nevada, maybe Pennsylvania, but the down ballot Democrats won. That's, what is that, fuzzy math they used to call it? Fuzzy math. Donald Trump joined Elon Musk to attend SpaceX's Tuesday launch in Brownsville, Texas, of an unmanned booster. CNBC reports that SpaceX, owned by Musk, has received $19 billion from the federal government since 2008. Musk is being brought on to the Trump administration to eliminate government waste. Well, I know where we should start. The People's Lobbyist, Public Citizen, reports that in September of this year, the Environmental Protection Agency accused SpaceX of violating the Clean Water Act by discharging dangerous chemicals into Texas soil and contaminating pristine aquifers. Public Citizen, the People's Lobbyist, who you should be donating money to, also reports that in September, the FAA fined SpaceX $633,000 for safety violations involving rocket launches. Elon Musk says he is countersuing the FAA, accusing it of regulatory overreach. Public Citizen also reports the National Labor Relations Board is reviewing a complaint filed by SpaceX workers who say they were fired after signing a letter that warned Elon Musk his public behavior is jeopardizing the company's reputation. So he fired them because he's a champion of freedom of speech and hates the cancel culture. CNBC reports that shares in Intuit and H&R Block tumbled after Elon Musk let slip that his government efficiency team will create an app that makes it easier for Americans to pay their taxes. How about an app that makes it so Elon Musk pays his taxes? Now, there is we don't need an app, first of all, to pay our taxes. Send us a bill. We've talked about this on the show, and other people have talked about this. The government should just send us a bill at the end of the year. The government gets copies of all our, what are they, W-2, whatever proof of money we received also gets mailed to the government. When a millionaire sells an investment, the government immediately is notified. The government knows what we earned. Just send us a bill. Now, here's something some of you know. Intuit, I-N-T-U-I-T, has a free software program. Actually, they have a software program that will do your taxes. They don't want you to know it's free. They made some kind of deal with the IRS where Intuit has to offer their software for free, but the deal is we're not supposed to know that it's free. Check it out. You can use Intuit software for free. They don't want you to know that. Turns out the bean counters who replace everyone can also be replaced as well. I'm pretty sure I'm correct on this. Let me know in the comments section. Find out, sign up for Intuit's software and get it for free. And if you cannot do it, let me know. But as I remember, it's free. In fact, I did get it for free. I did my own taxes using Intuit for free. They kept trying to charge me, but maybe it's different. Let me know. Anybody still here? Okay. Democratic Congressman Don Beyer of Virginia and the great Democrat Ted Lieu of California introduced a bill this week entitled the Security Clearance Review Act. Why? Well, as I mentioned on the program last time, Donald Trump is not using the FBI to vet his cabinet picks. He doesn't care if anyone is a security risk or has a conflict of interest. According to this new bill, future presidents would have to use the FBI to vet all White House employees. The president could ignore the FBI's recommendation, but the FBI's recommendation would be turned over to Congress to make sure congressional oversight could determine whether or not the president's cabinet or anyone else working in the White House is a security risk or might have conflicts of interest. Do we really need the FBI to investigate Donald Trump's White House of grifters? We know they're security risks, and they have conflicts of interest. By the way, J.D. Vance let slip yesterday that Donald Trump is already making plans to replace Christopher Wray, the head of the FBI. He can't do that, said Robert Mueller and James Comey. Read the Mueller report. Robert Mueller and the Mueller report said, in part 2, firing James Comey was obstruction of justice. Bobby Kennedy has said and done a lot of bad things. He called COVID a plandemic and once even suggested the United States government creates infectious diseases in order to exert totalitarian control over its citizens. Bobby Kennedy said the first attack on the World Trade Center back in 1993 was probably carried out by weapons manufacturers who want us in a permanent state of war. Bobby Kennedy said mass shootings are caused by antidepressants. Silly me. I thought it was assault weapons. Bobby Kennedy said that we should look into whether COVID was engineered not to attack the Chinese or Jewish people, but engineered instead to target white and black people. Bobby Kennedy says all vaccines are not safe, and something about radio waves in the atmosphere causing brain leakage. I didn't know that was a thing. Brain leakage. But other than all that, Bobby Kennedy is eminently qualified to run our nation's Department of Health and Human Services. Other than all that, one of Bobby Kennedy's first promises, he says, running HHS, is to make America eat better. He said he's going to tackle the poison that is not just in our food, but that is our food. You know, McDonald's. On the last show, I said 3/4 of Americans are obese. And I asked if that was true. I wasn't sure. And my listeners looked that up, and I was wrong. I got it half right. Three-quarters of Americans are either obese or fat. 3/4. So not 3/4 aren't all obese. 3/4 of this country is either obese or fat. 3/4. Why? McDonald's, which turned food into a drug. McDonald's is an addiction. McDonald's works with scientists to create the perfect combination of fat, sugar, and salt. So when you eat at McDonald's, you never feel full, you're never satisfied, and you crave more. Coca-Cola is an addiction. Diet Coke is an addiction. Even Bobby Kennedy has said he was addicted to Coke, the drink. He said, but because of my 12-step program, because he was also addicted to heroin, he said, I'm on a 12-step program. I've gone decades without McDonald's or a bottle of Coke. He has an app, he says, that counts the days he's gone without a bottle of Coca-Cola. He said he used to drink like 8 bottles of Coke each day. He said he was addicted to McDonald's and Coca-Cola. But he says, I've been off that crap for decades, and as head of HHS, I'm going to set the American diet right. And there he is. I showed you the picture on the last show, flying with Trump Sr., Trump Jr., and Elon Musk, chowing down the poison. So I mentioned this on the show, and some of my listeners said, oh, Bobby wasn't eating the food. This is what people wrote to me. He wasn't eating the food. He wasn't drinking the Coke. Look, that bottle of Coke is still full. He was just posing. He was in on the joke. We believe what we want to believe, and then there's the truth. You see that homunculus standing behind Bobby Kennedy Jr.? That's Mike Johnson. Yesterday, Mike Johnson was asked if Bobby Kennedy actually ate the McDonald's on the plane. And Speaker Johnson said, quote, I think he did actually eat some of the McDonald's. I'm not sure if I should say that, but I think he did. And then he laughed. But it's not funny. It really isn't. Because McDonald's causes cancer, obesity, diabetes, and heart disease. And it's destroying our planet. Rainforests are being burnt to make room for cattle, for your burger at McDonald's. It requires 623 gallons of water to create one Big Mac. So, for those of you who think it's funny that Bobby Kennedy, who's going to be running HHS, is eating McDonald's, you think that's funny? It's not funny. McDonald's isn't funny. The soon-to-be head of HHS is full of crap. And by that I mean he eats McDonald's. Bobby's an anti-vaxxer, and so is this guy, Howard Lutnick, the CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald. Yes, that Cantor Fitzgerald. Howard Lutnick. Now, Elon Musk wanted Howard Lutnick to be Treasury, to be head of Treasury. But Howard Lutnick, from what I'm hearing, is a very annoying person. I know, it's hard to believe. He's an anti-vaxxer, too. Trump reportedly said, "Keep him away from me. I cannot stand Howard Lutnick." Okay? Lutnick has been walking around Mar-a-Lago since the election, constantly asking Donald Trump to be his treasury pick. It's like obsessive behavior, from what I've been told. Whenever he sees Donald Trump, "Can I get treasury? Can I get treasury? What about now? Can I get treasury? Can I get treasury?" He's like Maury in Goodfellas. "I want my money, Henry. The Lufthansa heist was my idea, and I want my money now." Yesterday, according to Punchbowl News, Lutnick got an ice pick to the back of his neck, like Maury in Goodfellas. Trump made him Commerce Secretary. "Keep him away from me, Henry." And Lutnick is the new Commerce Secretary. Didn't get what he wants because he kept "Where's my money? I want my money." He's Maury from Goodfellas. Greatest movie ever. As is Casino and The Aviator and Taxi Driver. And I know I'm leaving out some movies. Raging Bull. Oh, God. The Senate Judiciary Committee is still controlled by Democrats. On Tuesday, they held hearings on the Visa and MasterCard duopoly that controls 80% of all credit card transactions in America. Committee Chair Democrat Senator Dick Durbin opened the hearings, reminding colleagues that Visa and MasterCard charge merchants $100 billion a year in credit card fees. So if you're a merchant, they $100 billion a year, Visa and MasterCard collect from merchants, which is why Visa and MasterCard alone are valued at $1 trillion. Their companies are said to be worth combined $1 trillion. $100 billion a year in credit card fees for merchants. That doesn't include the biblically usurious interest rates they charge people like you and me who buy crap they don't need over at Shop David Feldman and put it on their credit card. You know, these idiots go over to shopdavidfeldman.com. I mean, look at this. Look at this grift over at Shop David Feldman. He's selling a chef's apron with the words, "Hope you're in the mood for diarrhea." And some idiot is going to buy that to wear it Thanksgiving or for Christmas dinner. And they're going to put it on their credit card, Visa or MasterCard. And the credit card companies gets a huge slice off the top. And then if you don't pay the credit card company back, you end up paying 20%, 28% interest. We have to put an end to credit card companies and grifters like shopdavidfeldman.com. I mean, look at this. Look at the garbage they're selling over there, like this Trump mugshot coffee mug. This has to end. I'm sick of the grifting. I hate grifters. Well, you know who's not a grifter? Dr. Oz. That's why Donald Trump just picked him to be the administrator for Medicare and Medicaid services. Finally, he got something right. He picked somebody we can trust. In December of 2021, Ian Ward over at Politico wrote, quote, "In 2013, a team of researchers at Georgetown University analyzed the various health recommendations made on Dr. Oz's television show and found that about 78% of Dr. Oz's recommendations did not align with evidence-based medical guidelines." Well, sure, if you're going to go strictly by evidence-based medical guidelines, but some of us don't go by evidence-based medical guidelines. Some of us go strictly by the magical healing properties of raspberry ketone and the fat-melting, metabolism-boosting powers of Garcinia cambogia. Garcinia cambogia. I think Garcinia cambogia, I think I went out with her in high school. Garcinia cambogia. Timothy Caulfield teaches health law and policy at the University of Alberta. In December of 2021, when Dr. Oz was running for Senate in Pennsylvania, Caulfield wrote an article for Scientific American entitled, quote, "Dr. Oz shouldn't be a senator or a doctor." Caulfield wrote, quote, "Dr. Oz's brand of misinformation has already tarnished medicine. In the halls of Congress, he'd do much worse." And that's from Scientific American. What is that? Is that an evidence-based journal? Well, excuse me, I don't read evidence-based journals because I do my own research. And by doing my own research, I mean I listen to Joe Rogan. Wait, it gets better. It gets better than Dr. Oz. It really does. Linda McMahon is reportedly Trump's pick for Secretary of Education. Just to remind you, Linda McMahon and her husband Vince McMahon founded World Wrestling Entertainment. Now, you probably think wrestling is stupid entertainment, which it is. Why wouldn't somebody who is the purveyor of stupidity, why wouldn't you make that person Secretary of Education? Some of you might sense sarcasm here and fire back, "Hey, she's got a great business mind." Yes, she's got a great business mind. So did Frank Lucas, who realized the potential in smuggling heroin into this country from Vietnam and made a fortune. Not sure you want to make him Secretary of Agriculture. You might remember a few years ago, I told you about Business Insider reporting that Linda McMahon hired, why am I laughing? Linda McMahon hired ring announcer Mel Phillips, even though Mel had a storied history of child abuse. She reportedly said, "Okay, Mel, I'll hire you, but you promise to stop chasing after kids," unquote. This is according to Business Insider. I'm not laughing. I think I'm crying. She said, "Okay, Mel, I'll hire you to be the ring announcer for WWE, but you got to stop chasing after kids." And Mel said, "I promise." Because the thing with pedophiles, their word is their bond. Everybody knows that. He promised. So she hired Mel. I like that. You're going to stop chasing after kids. He wasn't chasing after kids. It reminds me of Kenneth Starr, the Whitewater prosecutor, the Torquemada. Kenneth Starr was the devout Christian who tricked Bill Clinton into perjuring himself about his relationship with Monica Lewinsky. Well, Kenneth Starr ended up becoming Jeffrey Epstein's attorney because Kenneth Starr was a devout Christian. And Kenneth Starr had a mistress, and the mistress wrote an article. She was an attorney who said she had an affair with Ken Starr, and he called her to come work on the Epstein case. And she said, "But Ken, isn't Epstein a child molester?" And Ken Starr said, quote, "He's a good guy. And he promised me from now on to keep it above 18. That was what she wrote in her article. Ken Starr said, Jeffrey Epstein's a good guy, and he promised from now on to keep it above 18. Like it was a traffic ticket for driving too slow. Keep it above 18, Jeffrey. Well, I almost invited Ken Starr's mistress onto the show, and then Ken Starr died, and whatever. She seemed like a very nice person. Also had amazing things to say about Brett Kavanaugh. But anyway, keep it above 18. Linda McMahon said to Mel, the ring announcer Mel, stop chasing kids. And Ken Starr said to Jeffrey Epstein, keep it above 18. So Linda McMahon, Trump's pick for Secretary of Education, children, she said to the ringside announcer, Mel, that's why I'm like, Mel, you promised to keep it above 18? And Mel said, I promise. So Trump's pick for Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, Secretary of Education, kids, Secretary of Education, she took the word of a child molester and gave him a chance to work at WWE with the Ring Boys. This is a headline from Business Insider. Boy, I got old. WWE co-founder Linda McMahon, who has raised more than $100 million for Trump, once hired a suspected child molester, an insider investigation reveals. Well, turns out it was worse than that. This is from USA Today. Let's go big here. This is from October 23rd, 2024. 5 former Ring Boys who worked with WWE have filed a lawsuit against the company founder Vince McMahon, his wife Linda McMahon, and TKO Group Holdings, alleging negligence for allowing systemic and pervasive abuse of underage children. The complaint and demand for a jury trial was filed on behalf of 5 John Does in Baltimore County Circuit Court on Wednesday. It alleges the McMahons knew about and failed to stop decades of sexual assault from the 1970s to the early 1990s, perpetrated by former WWE Ring Crew Chief Melvin Phillips Jr., who is no longer with us. But his memory lives on, especially with those Ring Boys. That's Linda McMahon. She was the Small Business Administration chief under Donald Trump, and now she's going to be running the Department of Education if she's approved. And I won't even go into what her husband is being sued over. It's too disgusting. It is too disgusting. Even for this show, it is too disgusting. But Google Vince McMahon. And just when you think you can't dig any deeper into the barrel of deplorables, Trump says he wants Matt Gaetz to be our Attorney General. Matt Gaetz. Well, Matt Gaetz didn't hire a child predator. It turns out, allegedly, he might be one, allegedly, and allegedly a sex trafficker. And Donald Trump is privately admitting, according to some sources, yeah, Gaetz is going to be a hard nomination to get through. But Donald Trump is working the phones anyway, calling Republican senators, urging them, you gotta vote for Gaetz. What's he doing? Well, he's trying to burn the Reichstag. He's trying to get these Republicans to bend to his will. And people say to me, you must be so grateful that Donald Trump is going to be president. That gives you so much. It gives you so much to work with. Yeah, you know who else has a lot to work with? Stephen Chung's massage therapist. That doesn't mean they're happy about it. Stephen Chung's massage therapist has plenty to work with. Gee, you must really love digging your fingers into all those buttery folds of cellulite and his secret stashes of cupcakes. You have so much to work with. Stephen Chung has secret stashes of cupcakes underneath his cellulite folds. According to Notice, N-O-T-U-S, it's a great website, N-O-T-U-S. It's News of the United States, N-O-T-U-S. According to Notice, Trump is working the phones, but he's discovering Matt Gaetz is, quote-unquote, radioactive among GOP senators. That's why he nominated him. This is how authoritarians work. This is not just me saying this. This is Ronald Brownstein. Much smarter people are saying that this is a loyalty test. If you can get the Republican senators to bend and vote for Matt Gaetz, you own the Reichstag. You own it. The lawyer for two girls who are reportedly mentioned in this ethics report, the lawyer says his clients, these two women, attended 10 sex parties that were hosted by Matt Gaetz, featuring allegedly underage girls. This is not a dream, right? This is real, right? This is the country we're living in now, right? Doing this show can be very isolating. This isn't a Twilight Zone episode. This isn't some solipsistic nightmare. This is actually happening, right? Okay. Senator John Cornyn, a Republican from Texas, said Trump called him, said, you got to vote for Gaetz. Cornyn said, quote, he made it very clear he wants Gaetz confirmed, and I told him that we need to do our vetting process, and that's what we're doing. And then Senator Cornyn said to Trump, you don't have anything on me about that male meter maid in Georgetown, do you? You don't? Good, then we're doing our vetting process. There are files being dumped on these senators' desks. Every Republican senator right now is being shown a photograph that they don't even want their mistress to see. The Wall Street Journal reports that Gaetz is not only accused of trafficking a 17-year-old girl and paying her for sex with him and friends, but allegedly, according to the New York Times, he is also allegedly being accused by that 17-year-old girl of having sex with a minor. And she said, allegedly, there were several witnesses. Well, Kevin McCarthy, the former Republican Speaker of the House, has been very clear on this and didn't cushion it with allegedly. Kevin McCarthy has said several times Matt Gaetz belongs in prison. But Elon Musk is pushing hard for Matt Gaetz to become our next attorney general. Why? Musk says Gaetz has a quote-unquote big brain. Musk likes Matt Gaetz because, quote, he has an axe to grind. Well, he's grinding something. An axe to grind. That's what you want from an attorney general, the man in charge of the entire Justice Department, the man in charge of the FBI. You want the man in charge of our entire Justice Department, to be hell-bent on seeking revenge against his political enemies, because that's how you restore trust in our criminal justice system. Well, one thing about Trump, it's all out in the open. It's all like, you can't say we haven't been warned. I mean, Musk says Matt Gaetz is innocent. Elon Musk took to Twitter and said, quote, if AG, Attorney General Garland, an unprincipled douchebag, that's what Elon Musk said, called our Attorney General, Eric Garland, an unprincipled douchebag. Who does Elon Musk think he is? Me? He said, if A.G. Garland, an unprincipled douchebag, could have secured a conviction against Gaetz, he would have. But he knew he could not. Case closed. Wait, it gets better. It gets better. Donald Trump, according to the New York Times, is refusing to withdraw the nomination of Pete Hegseth for Secretary of Defense, despite new allegations that he raped a woman. Hegseth was accused of rape back in 2017, and police concluded he was the aggressor. That's according to the New York Times. The woman contacted the police 4 days after her encounter with Hegseth. Although the police report has yet to be made public, the New York Times says police noted the bruises on her thighs. Well, the Washington Post over the weekend had a bombshell report revealing that the woman agreed to drop the charges and remain silent after Pete Hegseth paid her an undisclosed amount of money and made her sign an NDA. Gabe Sherman at Vanity Fair writes this morning that Trump advisors are now feeling misled by the thrice-married Fox News host, Pete Hegseth, because he failed to tell them before the announcement that he was going to be defense secretary that he paid the woman for her silence. He didn't tell the transition team that he made her sign an NDA. Gabe Sherman over at Vanity Fair writes that he himself, Gabe Sherman, spoke to high-level sources at Mar-a-Lago who secretly told him that there are Republicans with a background in the Defense Department who are privately telling Trump, I will not work for this guy. Meanwhile, an editorial in the Rupert Murdoch-owned Wall Street Journal says, quote, what happened in Monterey, that was where the alleged rape allegedly took place. What happened in Monterey 7 years ago might be impossible to prove or disprove, but even granting Mr. Hegseth the benefit of the doubt, it raises questions about judgment, including whether he warned the president-elect that this might come out. We'll see. Judd Liggum, Rebecca Crosby, and Noel Sims have a great piece over at Popular Information. Everybody should read Popular Information. It's a piece entitled, quote, 13 Things Everyone Should Know About Pete Hegseth. Well, I'm not going to read you all 13. I've gone over some of these, but these are some that I didn't mention. When Pete Hegseth was at Princeton, he wrote a column for Conservative magazine in which he said sex with an unconscious woman is not rape. Now, from what I understand, there was a lot of drinking involved in Monterey. Allegedly, sex with an unconscious woman is not rape. He once called waterboarding an effective interrogation technique, but only on first dates. No, he's for waterboarding, which is why Khalid Sheikh Mohammed can't be put on trial down at Gitmo. It's not an effective interrogation technique. He once said the United Nations should be shut down. And that's who you want running the Department of Defense. He worships with white Christian nationalists. He attends a church whose founder insists America is a nation only for Christians. He once called the increasing Muslim birth rate, quote, a slow motion 9/11. Trump's pick for Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, once bemoaned injured veterans who are too dependent on our government. He's a graduate of Harvard and Princeton, Pete Hegseth. He once said soldiers who accept veterans' benefits are violating the ethos of service, the ethos of service. Well, it's not like the job of Secretary of Defense requires sober thinking. It's not like the world's on fire. The Wall Street Journal reports this morning that Israel found large troves of Russian arms in Hezbollah's hands in Lebanon. So apparently Vladimir Putin is supplying weapons to Hezbollah. Hezbollah is the mortal enemy of Israel. Israel is America's ally. Yeah, no need to worry. I'm sure Pete Hegseth can solve this. Nothing to worry about. Pete Hegseth is qualified. We got reports yesterday that Ukraine, for the first time, launched American long-range missiles inside Russia for the first time. Russia's defense ministry says 6 American missiles were dropped into Russia. 5 were shot down. 1 was damaged. USA Today reports that after the U.S. missiles landed on Russian soil, Vladimir Putin alerted his generals that the threshold for using nuclear weapons on the battlefield has now been lowered. According to the Woodward book, Putin has repeatedly threatened Joe Biden that he would use nuclear weapons in Ukraine. The good news is we might not make it to January 20th. Good news is Trump may not serve a second term. It's the Washington Post reports that Trump is now receiving intelligence briefings, as is customary for incoming presidents. As is not customary, is sharing that intelligence with Vladimir Putin. All right. Medicare for all, climate change, no billionaires. There is no migrant crisis. The migrants are a gift. They don't commit crime. There's a handful of migrants committing crimes the same way there's like 3 transgender high school athletes. So focus on the important stuff. Medicare for all, climate catastrophe, taxing billionaires out of existence. Focus, don't be distracted by the nonsense. I'm David Feldman, reminding you to stay strong and protect the weak. We're going to be okay. We are. We're going to be okay. Please like this episode. Share it with your friends. Thank you to Mila and Bob in the chat room. I read all your comments. If I got something wrong today, please correct me. Subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to my newsletter. And do you like this? I was toying with this. Do we like this? Do we like... shopdavidfeldman.com. Do you like this? Buy my crap over shop. This? Or how about this? Huh? What's this? Yeah. Better now? How about now? Better now? How about this? This is... Where's the other heart? I had another heart. What happened to that other heart? Oh, there we go. All right. That's it. I'm done. Thank you. No show tomorrow. Next show is in 48 hours. Wow. That's beautiful. Okay.